Hey, and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So last Tuesday we had maintenance and we actually got a small bit of an update then, which went and fixed the Shadar-kai Witch and the Savage Allosaur. These are two fairly interesting companions, the Shadar-kai Witch namely being very good multi-target damage that recently got pretty heavily nerfed. And then the Savage Allosaur, well, people probably don't know much about him, but he's actually quite amusing to run in multi-target, as I'll showcase why. But ultimately, with the Shadar-kai Witch, she has the ability to create like a ball of necrotic energy, and that basically was dealing 0 damage. And I believe with the Allosaur, it also had attack similarly not working, as again, this is the issues that they resolved. Therefore, we went ahead and retested the damage output of these companions, and you can see her energy ball is indeed working now. I just would like the radius of it to be a little bit bigger, because you could see when she created it, she could only hit like one guy with it despite the other guy being so close. There, sure, just about gets 2 guys to deal damage to, but still it's a very small area. And with the big nerf to her Grasp of the Shadows ability where she summons the hand underneath guys, that being nerfed to only like come up under one guy, so it can only hit guys in a very tight area, means her damage is still not great. And we see that as she takes over 2 minutes and 40 seconds to kill all of these 5 guys, 6,807 DPS, which sure is an improvement by like 2,000 DPS because Bestowed Mind actually does damage now. But when we look at other companions here on my list, you can see she's still not going to rank very highly. Not really a companion I would use. Her radius is pretty small with that hand that comes up under somebody. It's only like 10. Sure, it has a 80-foot range that she can cast at, but that doesn't really matter as you're going to be near your enemies anyway. Near enough that she can cast it. And yeah, then the ball is very tiny radius on that. It's probably like 5 feet. And on top of that, it continually moves, so enemies can just move away from it and basically not get hit by it. If you're particularly keen-eyed, you'll see that she actually only killed 3 guys, and that is because she actually does a decent amount of damage with just fall damage. Because when she puts the guys up in the air, when they come back down, they take a bunch of damage. But that damage is not going to be contributed to your damage on, say, the Pain Giver, and it's not contributed to the companion's damage, and that fall damage did actually kill 2 guys. So that's something interesting to note, and that's why you'll also see like she'll kill the guys in a shorter time but with lower DPS. At least that's what it looks like, because that fall damage is not actually added to her damage. If it was, should be like, yeah, nearly 2,000 DPS higher. But now we need to check out the Allosaur, which has never been on this list, and this guy is a very amusing companion to run. You just saw it right there. He can charge at guys and cause them to go flying, stomp on the ground, deal some damage, and then has this roar ability which would like stun everybody, which is actually pretty useful. You're going to interrupt them, cause them to not attack anybody. But this is really amusing, causing them to go absolutely flying. I guess you can use the companion to kind of troll people. If you have him, be sure to try him out. His damage is okay, but yeah, people are gonna get triggered by him spreading the enemies all over the place. Now, again, he does take quite a while beating up all of these guys. He does have that area of effect with the roar, which is pretty generous. This one right here again. And he does have some weird teleporting abilities where he ends up inside the wall. I'm not sure what's quite up with that, but he'll like teleport out of it again and then stomp on the ground. And stomp attack is not very effective because the area is super tight, and if he's not standing next to dude, he won't hit anybody. There's that roar again. As per the data, we can see he takes just about over 3 minutes. DPS at 7,762. So not the worst, but not that great here either. As we can see, he's going to rank like 18th position here. better than Diana the Acrobat anyway, but still, with his ability to cause enemies to go absolutely flying with that broadside, you're probably gonna have people just triggered if you run him. The radius on his Terrifying Roar is very generous, 30 feet, so you can do quite a decent amount of damage with it, but that's about it. If I were to still pick one here that I would consider the best, it's gonna be the Minotaur Mercenary, just because massive radius of 50 feet. Nothing else competes. Like, the next best is 30 feet that this guy has. And then there are some like cone attacks that some guys have, but that really depends how well the companion is positioned, if it can make any use of that damage. I will just update the date on this because it is pretty much updated to this day, and so that's fine. However, I have been contemplating on changing up this whole test again. I'm still not fully set on the idea of how this test is set up. It can just have a bit too much randomness, I feel. Enemies moving differently according to different damage tests can cause like your companion to hit more guys than say in a different test and result in just discrepancies. Like, you try do the exact same test twice in a row and you're gonna end up with varying results. Not that dramatic, but still enough that it might change their ranking on this list by like quite a few positions. And so we really need like a dummy test for this to work properly. And this scenario, it's okay beating up 5 guys. How quickly can they do it, especially when they move around a bit? But it's not, again, not that clearly representative of, say, more of general content that you might be running, especially when with other players. People did point out to me they would like to see like how quick can a companion output their damage. Like, what is their damage within, say, the first 10 seconds? What is that DPS? And so you can potentially choose a companion based on how much damage they can do at the very beginning when they enter a fight. And then you could be best taking that companion into content where enemies just die so quickly. Like, this list is decent for like choosing a companion that you're gonna AFK with, because that is when, yes, the enemies are going to target the companion because it's the one attacking and you're just standing there. So in that way, that's useful. I mean, you can also play very poorly and you're basically like AFK, and then you would be good with one of these two. But for a more end game scenario like this, where you go to a group of enemies and you just kill them within like 5 seconds and then you're moving on to the next group, your companion really will not have much time to react whatsoever. And so having a companion which will front load its damage and do it like super early in the fight can be a lot more beneficial than ones which are gonna just deal damage over time. And then just looking at a test like this where the companion's just beating up enemies by itself, you can get like average damage per second, which is what we call the DPS, and that can be good despite them having terrible like damage at the beginning. They might not have good burst damage and just have consistent damage, which is then not good for a content scenario that you're just beating up dudes so quick and moving on to the next group like you find in dungeons. And that's the only real place that I think a multi-target companion really matters, except for some of you who are looking for ones that are gonna help you a lot in, say, killing enemies in zones. And that, to be honest, would just be for earlier on players, because as you develop your character, you're gonna most likely be one-shotting enemies in most of the zones at a certain point. And before that, you're better off investing like resources into your character to then get to that point where you're one-shotting enemies, versus investing into a companion that does multi-target damage for you that costs millions that might just get nerfed in the end of the day. So I think my step forward with these multi-target companion tests will be going to Dreadring. Here you will find 4 dummies. This allows the companion to be able to target all of these, but it will depend on their area effect, whether they can actually hit all of them. And it will depend on their movement, whether they're going to move for combat advantage or not. What I do think of doing is pretty much just standing here. So every single test will start from this exact location. We'll like resummon our companion there. So they'll be standing with us. And then we'll use our at-will attack from a distance, just twice on this middle dummy, and then the companion will begin attacking. So there, she already used one ability. Not really my fault if she's not going to hit anything with it, but that's pretty much it. From there, she'll just deal damage, and we'll have a look overall at how much damage she does. What is her GPS? And we can also then see what is her reaction at the beginning, how much damage does she do at the first 10 seconds. So it's 10-second begins as soon as I've hit the dummy, and then they will have that time to react. So Shadar-kai Witch, not going to be very useful there. She's casting her orb and not doing much. The Minotaur will go, we'll summon him. Let's just do that a few times. And then again, attack that middle one twice so they go and react. And there we go. That's the first thing he does. 50-foot range, he can already hit all of them. And that's really good. That's why I recommend him as one of the best. And he has decent enough range on that spinning attack to hit all of them as well. So he's going to probably be super good in this test. So you can look forward to that. And you can let me guys know your thoughts before I heavily invest in this. But I think it could be more representative of a dungeon scenario where enemies can be spread out randomly. And again, I think it can be more important to find that DPS within the first 10 seconds versus just overall DPS, because that is what's going to be useful when jumping between groups of enemies when you're trying to deal lots of damage yourself. You're not giving your companion much time at all there. As you can see, you kill the group within 5 to 10 seconds. So you'll definitely need a companion that's going to be acting nice and quickly for them to really give you much benefit. Ultimately, I would just prefer them to come out with like a new companion enhancement here that would give us like a damage boost, and then we could just run like augments and not have to worry about these multi-target companions. Because I think a boost to our own damage, at least on the end game level, is going to be superior than a companion which is just going to tag along and deal a bit of extra damage for us. In single target, we're still probably going to be sticking with companions which can boost the team, but we could also very well be nice to have a companion enhancement that can give us boosts for our team. Like we run one of these, and rather than it giving like damage to our companion, it would give us like 5% stats to ourselves and our whole team, or maybe even 3% damage to us and our whole team, or 5%, or I don't know the exact scaling on that, but it could be more useful and especially better for server performance if people run augments which aren't attacking, which aren't getting hit, and just give a boost to the team. And it's also going to be nice and reliable then, because the companion is never going to die. But that's my 2 cents on that. But yeah, let me guys know your thoughts on this here. I think it could be a pretty decent test to have. It should better represent multi-target companions, especially ones with decent area on their effects, like Minotaur Mercenary, 50-foot radius, easily hitting everything here. And with that spinning attack, which probably has like a maybe 20-foot radius. I mean, it could just be 15. Yeah, 15-foot radius just about hits everything there as well. This area here of Bane is 15 feet. You can see it hits everything. So once again, thank you for watching. A special thank you to all of these channel members for your extra support. And we'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.